Welcome back to Cinema Pro, where we discuss movies. I'm here again with Jordan, and today we got another special guest. Our buddy over here, Jensen. Say hey, buddy.
What's going on?
Today we're gonna be talking about war movies. Obviously, we're all in the military, and I think we all watch these probably way too many times. So we're gonna discuss our top 10 war movies of all time, at least for us. We're going to go 10 to 1, and then we're going to compare it against, Rotten Tomatoes?
I believe so, yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with our number 10 pick. Our number 10 pick is Act of Valor. I can already tell you, I love this movie. It made me think that I could do a lot of things that I definitely could not fucking do.
Brought out your inner Superman.
Exactly. I thought I could be Superman, and I definitely can't.
And then you realize that SEALs are above that, right?
Yeah. I didn't even want to become a SEAL. I thought I could, drive a boat or something, and then I realized that you have to do way too much training, and went, yeah, that's not me.
This movie is also made me want to do special forces, and I think, as we all just said, it didn't work out as we originally planned. But I really enjoy all the action scenes are good. All the like the tactical team movements that they're doing throughout the movie is just good because they're actual real Navy SEALs that are filming these scenes.
See, just the movie alone, the acting, subpar. Let's be honest. But
yeah.
It's all, as you said, it's all active SEAls. So
Because all it is to them is
yeah.
They're just
That's all it is to them.
they're just making a training video. So their acting wasn't the greatest.
So Lieutenant Angle, one of the main guys, and Chief Dave, the other guy that was with him.
Mm-hmm.
One of our sailors, he just came back. Actually, that ship that just pulled in from the deployment. So he had just come back. Well, before he got to us, he was in SWIC school.
Yeah.
And when he got dropped, he broke his shoulder and just decided that he didn't want to wait around for the medical side of it.
Right.
So when he got dropped, he was working at the SWIC schoolhouse building or whatever it is out there. And Chief Dave was in charge of him.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Oh, that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, super cool, right?
Cool.
So he had pictures with him, and he talked to him a bunch. Said he was a super fucking cool guy.
I imagine. I think that a lot of the SEALs, if you're just talking to them, a lot of the special warfare guys are just cool guys in general.
Yeah, I think you gotta have that relaxed mindset when you're not working.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, if you're just some high strung freak all the time,
you're not gonna make it.
It's dude, you're gonna wear yourself out in 6 years doing that bullshit.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really loved about this movie is the first person. There was a lot of the shots.
When he comes out of the water.
Yeah, it was a first person, shooting where it's I feel like I'm actually in this gunfight.
Yeah. When he catches that guy that gets clipped in the face.
Yeah, and then there's the scene, when they're clearing out the rooms and you get to see, him, gunning down those guys.
How they shot the movie, the acting, it could have been better. You can discount that.
Sure.
But how they shot it with their cinematography, it just was amazing.
Yeah, really.
And truthfully, I forgot about this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I have I collect certain movies.
Nice plethora, yeah.
But I totally forgot about it until a buddy brought it up, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I didn't even think. To
I thought about it from my list as well. I remember seeing it in theaters, and I really wanted to see it. And my dad only told me that he would take me if I mowed the lawn. And I remember mowing the lawn, and then right after, just being like, "All right, Dad, let's go see the movie." And I loved the movie instantly.
So I had just, this is kind of shitty, but I had just been arrested. Right?
Okay. We're learning some tea here.
Yeah. So I had just been arrested, and it was for assault. I'd gotten an assault charge at some point, right? And I'd gotten arrested, and I'd just come out of lockdown. I was still a juvenile. I was in juvenile lockdown. I'd just gotten home, and that was the first commercial I saw was the ad for that movie. And that movie is what strung me to be like, all right, dude. Because I was a bad kid.
Yeah.
I was getting in fucking lots of trouble, whatever. But I was like, dude, I'm going to join the Navy.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like them.
Here we are.
Well, I went up and I talked to recruiters, and at the time, the only thing that they were hiring for was that stuff. And I had some pretty good shape. I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then I realized once I got into depth about like what those guys were doing in that movie, I was like,
Maybe.
I can't do that.
Maybe I can't.
And then I
do
joined
that.
the freaking army, and then now I'm here with you guys in the Navy. So,
Well, I think we all can agree. I mean, Act of Valor is definitely deserving of a top 10 spot.
yes,
Mhm.
it is.
Moving on to number 9,
Ooh.
we've got American Sniper.
Another SEAL movie.
Another SEAL movie.
So many people are gonna be so mad that we put that at 9.
I can agree.
But it's a sentimental thing for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
It's not taken away from what Chris Kyle did or anything like that. But it's hard to depict what. It's hard to put together these movies when they're soul stories like that about a single individual. It's all about war, sure.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to a single individual, a lot of these war movies do that kind of stuff where they're like, hey, we're gonna pick out this platoon or this company or whatever, but we can't leave him off.
So, what were your feelings on this movie with the backlash that came with this movie? There was a lot of things with the book and the movie that people said weren't accurate, were accurate.
That's with any movie that's an adaptation
Yeah,
from a
yeah,
book,
sure.
really.
So
The thing about this movie is that it's not only an adaptation of the book, but it's a real story. So
it's a truthful story.
but you can only fit so much into 2.5 hours of a movie. So there's certain things you got to cut and certain things you got to include in the movie, and that's really what comes down to whether it's going to be successful or not. And I think that this movie was successful, and I think that they did a good job. You know,
I think what they do with these kind of movies when it comes to these stories that have books about them and stuff like that, I think what people don't understand, and if you've never served in the military, it's not that hard to understand. You don't have to be a service member to understand this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What it comes down to is when they write a book about something, you can be as graphic as you want in a novel, because at the end of the novel, something will come of that person being a hero regardless, right?
Yeah.
Chris Kyle in his lifetime, obviously none of us really knew him, nothing like that.
Right.
But he was a genuine person. In his interviews and everything he did, he was just a good person, right? So people get this weird feeling of like, well, you left this out, and you left this out, and you left this out. And it's like, think about some of the things that were left out. What would you think if that was portrayed in front of you?
Yeah.
It's
But
bad enough
there's-
that opening scene was hard for
Sure.
a lot of
There's
people to
also a lot of things that are like a lot of those things where people didn't know those extra details until this
Yeah.
movie came out.
Yeah.
So this movie did a good job with bringing his story to
see.
light
Yeah.
anyways, and those people, in my humble opinion, can fuck off.
Mhm.
Well, the
I think
fact
they did a
that
good job.
even Chris Kyle's buddies, like mentioned that they thought or they felt like Bradley Cooper was him. He acted
Yeah, I
and
heard
spoke
that too,
so
yeah.
close to how Chris Kyle acted and how he spoke that they almost mistaken him for him.
Another thing that this movie does well, that Act of Valor kind of just touches on the more actiony parts of being a soldier and a SEAL and stuff like that. What American Sniper really touches on is the aftermath and the PTSD that comes along with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they touch on that a few times and with a few scenes, and I really like when a movie can bring that to light and help people understand what some of these guys who have served to go through on a daily basis sometimes.
The good thing about that movie, the one thing that portrayed that most people didn't pay into, I think a lot of the military personnel paid into, was towards the end of the movie when he started coming back home, and he gets involved with the VA,
Yeah.
and he starts to bring to light what was really going on with him. The fact that they showed how hard it was for a service member to talk about the things that they've been through and the things that they have been a part of, because in a lot of light for us, some of the things that we do, you kind of leave it in the back burner, right? You have to kind of leave it away from yourself and not feed too much into it, because it will bring this part of you out that will disrupt what you're doing currently.
Yeah.
And I think that it was super important that they brought that part of his life into it and showed, like, no matter who you are, no matter how relentless you can be, that stuff is always going to be a part of you, and it is so important that you take care of it.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
can
big,
agree.
huge deal.
Another thing that I really like about like almost pretty much exactly what you were saying is you said, you know, putting stuff on the back burner is when you are doing your job, you kind of just shove all that shit down
Yeah.
and you don't really talk about it. And so that's another aspect of how hard it can be to you know, bring this stuff back up and how hard it can be to talk about. Like you see the part where, you know, they're checking his blood pressure and he's like, you know, oh yeah, I'll check that out, and they're like,
Yeah.
no, this is a serious thing, and he's like, oh no, fucking, you know, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's because, you know, at least, you know, I'm pretty sure we can all attest to this. You know, in the Navy, the medicals, you know, in the military, the medicals,
And the Army was the
not
same
the
way.
not the medical's not the best, and it's kind of, there's a lot where it's kind of like, hey, I have this problem, and it's like, you know, fucking get over it, you know. And I think that it just makes it tougher when you get out and you're having to deal with all this stuff, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know.
All
So-
right.
I'd say cheers to Chris Kyle on that one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And what he did for all the veterans that he took care of.
Hell yeah.
Good for him.
Moving on to the number 7 spot. Or excuse me. Yeah. No, number 8 spot.
Number 8.
Sorry, I can't count. We Were Soldiers.
Ooh.
All right, hit us, Jensen. What you think about that?
Okay, so here's the thing when We Were Soldiers. I talked about this a little bit before we started recording.
Yeah.
The problem is me and Jason had said it right before we started. It was, you have the global war on terrorism, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The movies that we add up, like Chris Kyle and American Sniper and some other stuff, you know, that have been brought out. The thing is, when it comes to these movies with World War II or Vietnam or the Korean War, there's something about that grit of those people that served in that type of war, because they didn't have body armor. I think in Vietnam the officers started getting flak jackets, right? But there's something about that feeling that none of us needed to be there. When you see it, you're like, oh shit.
And when you think
I don't
about,
think I could, you know, fuck, I wouldn't have done that shit.
and
Like,
you can think
fuck.
about all those traps that, like, you know, the
Mhm.
Viet Cong put out and
Yeah.
shit. Like that's some like
Yeah.
That's scary, dude.
scary shit.
There's
You know.
a video that keeps circling my TikTok about, like, I guess there's a museum over in Vietnam now where they, like,
Oh yeah, they show you.
they
how they
show
built them.
you,
Yeah.
like, they still have the traps.
Yeah,
and
I've
they still
seen
show
that,
you
yeah.
how they work, and it's like you watch it and you're like, shit, I'd be
Like,
dead.
could you imagine, like, just getting caught in one of those traps? Like, and that, not even only that, like, they have I think they call them, like, punji sticks or something
Yeah,
like
the
that.
punji spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like spikes have been, but not only are you getting impaled, but they cover them in pig shit so
Yeah,
that it gets
infected.
infected.
And, yeah,
Dear
it's bad.
Jesus.
Yeah,
And it's just, it's like and they would hang poisonous snakes in their little rabbit holes, their little tunnels. So like when you went down to clear the tunnel, the snake would fucking bite you because it's already agitated because it's fucking hanging there, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just like, I don't want to like make it sound like. The only word I can think of is creative, but like that makes it sound like a good thing, which is not, you know. But it's like it's fucking nuts the things that they did, and We Were Soldiers. Just, you know, it's just an amazing movie. Mel Gibson, I really like him as an actor, you know, and despite what people may think about him, but I really like him as an actor in all of the movies that I really enjoy when he's in them. And
I think
So-
when it comes to those movies too, people get caught up in, because like Forrest Gump, right? You have Forrest Gump where it wasn't all related around war, right?
Yeah.
But he was in that movie. He portrays being in the Vietnam War. The thing is that those movies portray the war and what it was doing to the people around them. But the thing is that people don't take away from it is, like, think about the crucial, like, thought process of the leaders of that war. Because when you get thrown into something like that, the way you have to think, especially when you're losing, we all know as veterans and as active service members, we all fucking know that what we're doing at the time is not what's portrayed on the news, right? So the news is like,
100%.
Yeah.
oh yeah, we're winning the war, or we're doing this, or whatever. Back then, that's what was being portrayed. You have to keep the morale up back here so we can build the confidence in our soldier, whatever. But you look at these guys that, like, you get thrown into some shit like that, dude, boots on the ground, when you're sitting down there, your thought process, you've never been there, you don't know, you got all this shit around you, all these traps, all this crap, right? That thought process of accomplishing things there and being proficient in what you're doing and actually accomplishing what you're set out to do is huge, dude.
And that's what We Were Soldiers really talks about, is because, you know, Mel Gibson coming in and training a bunch of people, you
Yeah,
know,
like,
and making his Platoon, which is another great fucking
you know
movie.
who else was in that movie that I fucking love, dude? Samuel Elliott. When
Yeah.
that dude would walk by him in the morning, be like, "Morning's our matron," he'd be like, "Yeah, fuck you, good goddamn one." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Sam Elliott,
That was
I mean,
that-
is phenomenal.
dude,
in
he's
general.
awesome, bro. But he didn't have his mustache.
Yeah.
He was all
Yeah.
shaved, dude. That was so fucking. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's just a good movie all around. Really portrays the horrors of the Vietnam War
Yeah.
well, and just
See, that
did a
was
good
going to
job.
be my next question. Was going to be, how do you feel like the movie did at depicting?
I mean,
what
obviously
we're
we,
talking
we
about?
weren't there, but from everything, all the documentaries I've seen, everything I've read, you know, I think that they did a good job with how they portrayed.
I think so too. I think
certain
it was
aspects.
a pretty transparent situation because when you were coming home when they were bringing the guys home and the families, right? And the wives are waiting to see who made it and who didn't, and you know those are the things that you don't see in. Those are the things that you don't see in most movies.
Yeah.
You don't see what it's like when the guys come home.
I just thought it was funny, you know, not this scene, but the fact that our producer sitting to the side just sent me a message about the scene where the wives are waiting for the letters to start coming back and they're figuring out who died.
Yeah,
And right as he sent
Right.
it, he sent it to me. You started talking
yeah,
about it.
and that's the thing though too. Right?
That's also a thing that comes up with another movie on our list, but we'll get to that when
Yeah.
we get there.
But yeah, good movie. I think the portrayal of everything was awesome. I think Mel Gibson did a really good job. I think
Yeah.
all the actors that were a part of that movie, and I think the at home situation with the wives taking care of each other was a good portrayal of this is what it's really like.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
I can
know,
agree
this
with
is
that.
what the real shit looks like.
hmm
So, all right, moving on.
All right.
On to number 7. We've got Hacksaw Ridge.
Ooh.
So I can go ahead and tell you, I'm not a huge fan of Hacksaw Ridge. I never have been.
So
he's Army on the other side of the fight, right?
Yeah.
He's with Japan. He's not.
Yep.
He's not with the Germans. He's with Japan. On this
which
shit.
a lot of the World War II movies are depicted, you know, like you got D-Day and
Yeah.
the German side of things, but this is one of the movies that really talks about the Japanese side of the war and the war in the Pacific. And it's when I first saw the movie, it was way gorier and bloodier than I thought it was gonna be, but I think that needs to be in the movie just because as a viewer you want to be entertained, but there's something about seeing a movie and just thinking to yourself like, this is a movie. I can't even imagine how it was for them
Yeah.
In real life.
in real life,
Yeah.
and it just kind of gives you a respect for the people that they're portraying in the movie, especially and you know, even in our very first episode we talked about Andrew Garfield and how much I like Andrew Garfield as an actor, and he does another really good job in this movie.
I think he did an amazing job in the movie. I just felt like if you're gonna show me what happens, I like realism,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like it was a very watered down movie, and I don't know, there was something about it.
Well,
It just
I mean, the
didn't-
movie was portraying, you know, Andrew Garfield, what is it, Private Doss, you know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
portraying
Desmond
his
Doss, yeah.
Desmond Doss. It was portraying his story, so it was more focused on him, not on the, you know, the battlefield as a whole, but those battlefield scenes really, you know, stand out.
Yeah, covering yourself under a dead body so you don't get
Yeah,
snatched.
you know,
Yeah.
it's really, I think
Yeah.
it was really good movie, and it really, you know, brought his story to life in a positive way, and I really like, you know, it just shows you how he had to think outside of the box with some things, you know, and we're not, I'm sure all three of us aren't pacifists, you know, we all own guns,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
100%.
it's like, but still, it's almost inspiring in a way.
He's
So.
definitely the reason that some thorough investigations are a part of the military,
Oh,
right? You
100%.
have to know who you're bringing in, and
Yeah.
you have to understand, like, because back then it was just we need people, come on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're getting to freaking boot camp, and I can testify on that because I've been to, you know, I was in the Army for X amount of years, and I've been through that process of, like, when you're there, you see. I remember showing up to combat school, or I guess that's what they were calling it, but it was Cow Scout training, right?
Yeah.
At Fort Benning, Harmony Church, back a couple of years down the road, and we had shown up right after our shark attack off the bus. We all lined up, and you know we're getting fucking fucked up and, you know, yelled at and shit's flying everywhere. And you don't really understand what the military is or what you're signing up for in a sense of what you are going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Because I remember showing up to that and they would bring stuff up like that, like, you know, I hope you're not scared of weapons. I hope you're not scared of this and that and this and that, right? Because when you pick your job, they're just talking about, oh, this is what you're going to be doing. It's going to be so cool and blah, blah, blah. Well, as a Cav Scout, we didn't know. Like, our drill sergeant, our senior drill sergeant would come outside and shut everyone up. He's like, shut the fuck up. He's like, I want you to understand this right fucking now. Before we go any further, this is day 0.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get any further into this, your life expectancy on a modern battlefield as a Cav Scout is like 15 seconds.
Damn.
And we had a group of guys fucking push out because he's like, if you can't handle that and you don't want to be a part of it, raise your hand. Boop. We're gonna put you out of this MOS and we're gonna fucking get you something else because this ain't gonna work for you.
Right.
You know, and when reality sets in like that, you're like, oh shit. You know, and then think about with these guys. They didn't tell them shit like that.
No.
Mm-mm.
It was, hey, we're gonna go fight the war. We're Americans. We're gonna kick ass, and we usually do. But then you get there and look what Doss did. He didn't even have a fucking weapon, dude.
And think about how many
Like,
lives
dude,
he
like,
saved.
What the fuck?
And think about how many lives he saved in the process of this battle, and you know I think there's a lot of times where you can't help having a first impression of someone, right? And I think a lot of times when you meet someone, especially, you know, in the service, you're like, I fucking hate that guy. But, you know, and then
Pisses me off.
right, but when it comes down to it, you know what I mean, you're gonna do what you can for your
I think that
for
movie
your guys.
portrayed a more sensitive side of the military to show that, you know, you have to follow the rules, but sometimes when those rules are broken like that, like imagine if they would have just kept him in jail and never put him back.
Yeah.
Like, look at that, dude. His own sergeant got saved by his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the way that they portray him in the beginning as kind of a criminal when he gets all in the judicial part of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all had our little run-ins with the captain or whatever, right?
Right.
But that little bit of like problem, that little bit of a problem that he had in that sense of things is like, you're like, yeah, that's not right. You know, he shouldn't. You know, why the fuck he knew he's coming to the army, but he had the loophole. Why are you punishing him for having the loophole? And he's still willing to go.
And, and it says about they said it was about 75 people saved. They said it was 50, but eyewitnesses say it was 100.
I was about to say, yeah, Doss says it was 50, but the witnesses say 100.
So they just met in the middle with 75.
Yeah.
And still 75. That's 75
lot.
guys that got to come home and see their families again. And
That's 75. If that number, that's 75 trips of pulling, probably plus 170 pounds
yeah.
Yeah.
throughout whatever span of time he was up there.
Just think about the mental
God,
fortitude you got to
dude.
have
Yeah,
when you're doing
dude.
that stuff.
That's
And
fucking
just
insane.
It
the
is-
stuff you're
it is
seeing, it's
insane.
just, it's nuts.
All right, so moving on to the number 6 pick,
Okay.
we've got Tears of the Sun.
I love this movie, and we were talking about it when we were making our top 10 list. We got kind of, because they're about the kind of the same thing, is this one and Apocalypse Now. And Apocalypse Now is definitely an amazing movie, but Tears of the Sun, I personally like it more.
I'm about to say, we sat on this movie for a minute and kind of went back and forth.
And what this movie touches on, I think we really got a good list here, because we got a bunch of movies that touch on different aspects of, you know, the genre we're talking about, which is war movies. And Tears of the Sun kind of just talks about the horrors of war and the stuff that we don't really, you know, that we do, but we don't really we don't like to talk about when we get home. The stuff that's not talked about. And they made this movie and they showed test screenings and they had to cut some of the scenes because they were just so horrible to watch
It's
and
an
just so
intense
realistic.
movie.
It
There's a
is
lot of
intense.
scenes. It's very intense.
You
I
know,
think that was one of the first war movies that had come out. And the crazy thing about that movie is that it's not like you don't fall under any specific war with this movie. It's a proxy war, right? It's guerrilla. It's all that crazy shit that's off grid, that's not being monetized by any type of fucking media. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this shit goes on, dude.
It does.
Like, this is shit that's normal everywhere in the world. And you don't ever hear about it. What we're coming into now with all this crazy stuff going on in the world, I'm sure there's a lot of this going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing that I liked about this movie, in particular, was I liked the way that these guys were following the protocol that they had when they got there to a strict T until he's a lieutenant, I think, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis plays
Yep.
that lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
So he finally decides that it shows the key thinking, like the critical thinking skills of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you know what? No, we're taking you because you are who we came for. We're taking you only. We don't have the time for this shit. And then he realizes that throughout the movement in the beginning, he's like, fuck, she's not going to come. I have to make this, it's going to be shitty. I got to lie.
Yeah.
But to make this happen and to possibly get these people far enough away to put them in a better spot, I think that is the critical thinking decision I need to take.
And they actually had Navy SEALs teach them their tactical movement.
Well, you see that with a lot of movies.
They went through, I think, a 2-week boot camp.
Yeah.
For this movie, and they, so it takes place in Africa. Obviously, they wanted to film it in Africa, but with the way things, it was Hawaii.
Right? Yeah.
The way, but what they did was they hired actual Africans to play the roles.
Okay.
For the villagers and stuff like that, and they made interviews, and if you buy the Blu-ray copy, which I own, you can see it's almost a documentary, and they do interviews of the actual villagers that were there while all this stuff was taking place, and they incorporate their stories into the movie, and this is the same director that made Training Day.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of good Equalizer. He's got a lot of good movies under his belt, but I think he really does a good job with it, making it real.
You know what they did with that movie that was really good? It's sad that it was in there, but it was really good. It was like the portrayal that they had to do was the casualty of innocent bystander.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's there, right? In any war movie, it's there. You have people that are not part of it, they're not in play, and they're getting fucked up and they're dying and all that good shit, or all that good shit, all that bad shit. Excuse me. You have all these things that are happening like that around, but that movie focuses in so thoroughly on that. Like when they come up on that village, and they split into A and B team, then they come in, right? And you have that lady that's getting hacked up, and these guys are just in there, and it shows. There's a famous quote from one of these movies that has always stood by me, because I've seen what it can do, and the quote is, "Wait till you see what a man can do to another man." And that movie portrays that quote very thoroughly. It's like, look,
Yes.
this is what the fuck happens when somebody wants to do something and they are militarized in a way that's negative. This is what the fuck will happen.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to happen no matter whether you want it to or not. And I think it's important that people see that innocent bystander casualty to an extent, because if you just see the war part of it and it's just bang bang boom, blow it up, whatever,
You're like, oh, that was an awesome action movie.
Yeah, but then on the left hand side or whatever right hand side, you see, well, fuck, Jerry and his fucking family of 5 over here just got shot in the face just because.
Yeah, and it plays that or takes a
it just
sheds a light on that side of things that's very important for people to understand with a lot of things, and it's just
some things
really
you can't
good.
help.
So there's a lot of things, especially with this list of movies, and even the movies we just discussed. Like, they're intense movies.
Yeah.
But they're amazing movies, and I think a lot of people watch them and it falls under that action category.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start really getting into the movies in general, they're just so. They hit on everything.
Yeah.
They hit on that bond that a lot of brothers have. Because you're in there and you're dealing with very emotional things, and you're really close to these people, and you're able to lean on them. But then.
We like to call it the shit, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason the VA is very important, in my opinion, is because you got these people coming back, and then you have this group of people that have been through that can help you out with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just go. In my opinion, you can't just go to any old therapist and deal with some of the shit that is portrayed in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's really important to shed a light on those things to see what some of these people, not only our soldiers, but all over the world have to go through.
And coming off of that too, you know, the crazy thing is that people think that veterans are solely for like the American people in a sense, which they are, but what you're not realizing is that when somebody comes out of war or somebody comes out of the service, because people look at us as veterans like we'll hang flags up or we'll do whatever, like, oh fuck, this guy's super fucking American, hoo-yah, whatever.
Yeah.
No, dude, I'm hanging that fucking flag up because everyone that served with me under that flag and isn't here anymore is who I'm caring about.
Yeah.
Whether it's the American flag, I have flags from a couple of the units I was in. You know what I mean? You like, people think, yes, we're fighting for the American people. That's what we want to do. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the nitty gritty, you can ask any veteran. When you're in the foxhole together, it's you and him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's you and him. Because no matter what the bigger picture is, dude, if you can't blink and breathe and fucking smell and hear, and you're dead, what the fuck were you doing?
That's like, so,
You know?
Jordan alone, I think, we've known each other 4 years?
A while now. Yeah.
4 or
We
5
went through
years now,
school together.
because we went to school together. We came to the same ship. We've been together literally for forever.
Yeah.
But
And I was actually telling my wife, and I don't mean to caveat off that too much, but I was telling my wife, I was like, I have a hard time bonding with some of the people on my ship because, one, I haven't been out with the ship.
Yeah.
I haven't spent time away with you guys yet. I haven't been on the deployment with you guys yet.
Which
I
we
haven't-
will soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I haven't felt that bond yet.
Yeah.
Because in the Army, I was gone 98% of the time.
In the
I was
Army, you guys
always
do
gone.
those field missions,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
so-
and we in the Navy we don't really do that kind of stuff.
You spend this amount of time with somebody that, like these movies show, they're like, man, if he got shot, I'd just leave him.
yeah.
He's getting shot at. There's bullets flying. He's in the middle of the road. I'd leave him. But to us as service members, you don't think there's civilians that think that way.
Yeah.
That you're like, fuck no.
Especially
That's
now.
my fucking boy. I'm going to get him. I don't give a fuck what happens to me. I'm going to get him.
You know, and in the Navy, we're not like, especially now in like the time and the present time that we're in the world.
Yeah.
We're kind of just doing our job, going through like different certifications and shit.
Sure.
But when you kind of think about it, anything can happen at any moment in time.
Yeah.
And when you really sit down and think about that, even with the stuff that we're doing, you understand that side of it.
Dude, I fucking the other day, we'll move on real quick. The other day, like 3-4 weeks ago, when they started up what do they call
The
GTG.
the GTGs? Dude, I was up in the wardroom, and I heard it, but like I heard something below me start up. Dude, I almost lost my fucking mind. I was like, what the fuck?
Just wait until
Dude, they were like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, dude, I'm gonna fuck someone up. What the fuck was that noise?
my
Like,
first underway ever. I was asleep in Sonar 1, and
Oh yeah, he told me the horrors of that.
and I didn't know we had a gun shoot going on where they were shooting the 5-inch,
Oof.
and I'm
And
laying
it makes
there.
it
Right
make,
below,
especially
too.
I'm a nice cuddled up, my first underway, never been out, and all of a sudden this shit started going. I thought we were going down. I
Yeah.
thought the ship was sinking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what the hell is happening.
That's
We're
so
we're
funny.
sinking right now.
yeah.
And then I finally realized, I was like, oh, they're just shooting
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I guess I can go back to sleep now.
Oh, dude, I had so many things like that happen to me. Like, even in field trip. We were at home one time. We were at home. We lived on base, dude. We were at fucking home, dude. And the base we were on was a training post. And they would drop ordnance
Oh,
all
shit.
over. Well, they had been dropping ordnance out of a plane, dude.
Damn.
And they dropped it way too close to the housing. Like, so you had your physical base with a little circle.
Yeah.
They drop it out, a few miles, so you would hear it, and you kind of feel it a little bit. No, dude, they dropped this motherfucker at like the fucking road,
Damn.
and it shook. You remember that day? It shook our fucking windows and shit. I was like, oh, here we go.
And on this
Go
day,
upstairs and get a gun.
we're going to war.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, let's
All
move
right,
on.
moving on. Which saying something going like, have you noticed there's a lot of SEAL movies?
A lot of SEAL
A
movies.
lot of SEAL
Because
movies.
you guys are all in the Navy.
That's true.
I mean, also true.
Yeah, well, and they're fucking badass.
But they are good. Yeah.
I don't even
Yeah.
necessarily
I tried to
put.
throw a little army in there. I was like, ugh.
I try not to even put SEALs in the Navy because they are like their own special thing.
All the special forces in the
the
Navy are their
Navy-
own fucking thing.
The Navy SEAL is the U.S. Navy. We're just the Navy.
Yeah.
They're the U.S. Navy.
Well, yeah, 100%.
We're the Navy. They are the U.S.
Yeah, they're
You know,
like,
we
yeah,
stand our
do
watches with our
everything.
guns, and we like to think we're badass, but we're, you know.
Yeah, for real. All right, moving on to our next pick. We got Lone Survivor.
Yes.
All right, so personally, I think this movie could have been a lot higher on the list. I think it's a phenomenal movie.
Phenomenal.
But what's your opinions?
I think Marcus Luttrell did a good job at portraying the people around him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I was saying earlier, I just don't think he was trying to make the movie anything about himself.
He wasn't at
Oh,
all.
I mean,
His story was, these guys got me to where I am.
Yeah, I mean, they in some ways they saved his life.
They if it wasn't for my team, because that's all he ever talks about, my team, my guys. These, you know, this.
If it wasn't
I
for
mean,
them,
this-
he wouldn't have
Yeah,
been the lone
yeah,
survivor.
I mean,
wouldn't have
even
that
his,
title. He
his
wouldn't have-
kid's name is Axe.
Yeah,
Like,
because you had. I know we had talked a little bit about how young Danny was.
Yeah.
Danny Dietz was pretty young, right?
yeah.
And in the movie, you have that kid Shane that wants to go on.
He was also young.
He was very young. I think he was 20. Dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was young.
super young.
And he ends up getting killed with the RPG in the
Yeah.
helicopter, right? And a bunch of them died. A bunch of Army guys died. A bunch of Navy guys died. But I think Marcus Luttrell did a really good job at trying to take the media side out of it and being like, "Hey, this is my fucking story, and this is the way it's going to be told."
Well, you also have to. What is it? What's that director's name? Peter Jackson or?
Yeah.
I mean, he does a lot of these movies that.
He does really good with them too.
Yeah,
Like,
and he even portray like he's even in some of the movies.
yeah.
And what's really cool is that you can have, you know, sometimes you can't, but the story's got to be told. But sometimes we're lucky enough to have the guys that went through this on the set
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, this is how this went down. This is how
And that's
this
what
went
they said,
down."
right,
You
about
know,
Marcus was kind
Yeah.
of there like, "Hey, nah, fuck that." Like the guys, those stunt guys that were rolling down the hills, dude, he made them do that shit like 8 different times.
So this
He's like, "Nah,
Dude,
it didn't
yeah.
look right." Dude,
This-
like,
this
fuck
movie's
that.
that's not what it looked like in real
Hey,
life.
your
Do it
head
again.
didn't hit that stick. Get your ass back to the top.
so this movie's not on there, but it kind of touches on what we're talking about. 13 hours. The guys
Yeah.
that were in 13 hours, I actually got the chance to meet 2 of them.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. We'll get into that.
Fun
A
fact:
different-
my dad, the Army Ranger that's
Yeah.
in that, Tonto they call him in the
Yeah.
movie. My dad went, not the actor, but my
Yeah.
dad went to high school with the actual
Yeah.
Army Ranger guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But when I got to meet them, they were. I mean, it was at a Trump rally. That's beside the point. But when I got to meet them, you know, they a lot of what they talked about was that situation in the movie and going into that. But they talked about being on the set, talking about what they went through, like showing everything that they had to do with that movie, and it goes into Lone Survivor. You know, a lot of the people that actually do this for a living and were there and part of these missions, they show up on these movie sets
Yeah.
because not only do they want to see a good movie, but they're like, hey, you're not gonna fuck up
Tell
what we
them
know
us,
about
yeah.
these people.
Yeah, it shows that side of passion that they have for those people.
Yeah.
You know, that love and the passion that comes out for, like, you hear Marcus talk so much about Mike Murphy
Yeah.
and Axe and Danny because I don't know how the SEAL teams operate when it comes down to like platoon wise and stuff like that. Like in the Army, when we have
Yeah.
a platoon, you're pretty much with the same guys for like 4 years unless they move or like whatever. Let's take it out wherever.
Yeah.
But I think with the Navy SEALs, I feel like they send a team of them, right? So you have SEAL team, whatever it is, going SEAL team. We'll say SEAL team 2 is going to go here, and amongst them they have their A, B, whatever teams.
Yeah.
But I feel like they get picked. Like, hey, this mission's this. We're going to take these guys.
So what a lot of
Right.
people don't realize is SEAL teams are like almost 150, 200 guys.
Yeah.
And then that's broken down into like 3 or 4 troops. And then those troops are broken down into 3 or 4 platoons. And so
Oh,
each of
see,
these
yeah.
movies, they're part of SEAL Team, like Active Valor, SEAL Team 7, all that kind of stuff. but they're that's the troop. But they are part of SEAL Team 7, but that's their platoon.
See, and I feel like the Navy SEALs too, what they do, and I feel like this is kind of with all ops, like special ops, they kind of pick, like, hey, I think this guy's gonna be good for this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think he's gonna be good for this, and I think he's gonna be good for this.
Well, I mean, you see it. What was it? That Mark Wahlberg's actually been or not Mark Wahlberg, but Marcus Luttrell. He was a medic. That's what he was
Yeah, that's what he
specialized
played.
in.
And a sniper.
Was a medic.
And a sniper.
So when they put their team together, he was their medic and their sniper.
Oh, yeah, Danny was comms.
Yeah.
Axe was, I don't remember.
A sonar tech.
Sonar tech, yeah,
Stupid.
that's fine.
You gotta
You,
check
you can go ahead and say that. Sonar tech.
We know he was a son. I know you guys are proud of that.
And one thing that you said, getting the right guys for the job. One thing that our camera guy Orwald or Jason just sent us in the text was all the stunt doubles in this movie
Yeah, we're all
were
veterans.
veterans, no civilians.
Really?
And
Yeah.
Mark
Good
Wahlberg's
for them.
stunt double was hospitalized. That mountain scene, no CGI, none of that. It was all stunt doubles doing those actual on location.
Which
I can
stunts.
see him at the top of the hill with all his gear on
Yeah.
looking out. Hey, Marcus, check this out.
yeah.
yeah,
So
I'll see you back
this
in the rear.
this is kind of spinning off the rabbit hole.
but that was fun. I want to do it again.
But there was a video that came out probably.
He's like, I did it twice, pussy, get up.
Yeah, there was a video that came out probably 5-6 years ago that there was apparent footage that came out from that time period, and of course nobody could corroborate it, but it was
Sure.
it showed people falling off, so showed U.S. soldiers falling off a mountain, shooting back at the Taliban, and there's a lot of speculation, but even that footage, if that is just a grain of salt of what those people had to go through in that
Yeah.
time, it just shows you like.
They had
Damn.
They had collected. The U.S. government had collected. I don't know the time frame of how much footage that they had actually collected from that operation, but they had actually collected from the combatants. Because they got those,
Yeah.
they ended up figuring it out. They ended up taking care of what they were trying to originally do with that dude that they were going after, or whatever. But once they had gone to that area because we go retrieve our personnel.
Yeah.
When they're down, we have to, that's something that I don't even think you would have to tell us that we have to do it.
Yeah, we just do it.
I think it's just like, fuck, what the fuck are we doing? But they had received the recordings of that fight
Yeah.
from the enemy combatants, and it was from their perspective. And you have 6 dudes, or what was it?
4.
4 dudes laying hate, squirting
Yeah.
this tree line. And how many fucking insurgents were coming up?
And when you
Hundreds,
think about it, it's like we lost 3 guys, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But think about how many.
Oh, they lost.
Think about how many
Oh, yeah.
guys. They went down fucking fighting till the end.
Well, what was it? Danny Dietz' dad, or no, it was Mark Axelson's dad, came out and they had he didn't release the autopsy, but they talked about the autopsy. Man had been shot like 20 times.
Yeah.
And at one of the shots was in the head, and they still found his body miles away from where they think he was shot.
And that's in the
because he
movie.
was still moving.
That's
He
in the
was
movie.
Still fighting.
Yeah, it's that title of lone survivor that Marcus Luttrell holds
Oh yeah.
is
Which you can.
like
It's heavy.
it's a title that I think he as an individual thanks them every day for what he has.
Yeah.
But it's a title that I don't know that he wears.
Proudly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's something that's more like I would trade this story because that story is worth a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
That story is worth a lot because it's true.
Which
Yeah.
so
You know.
here's the one flaw that I found in the movie was when you look at the movie from the get go,
Yeah.
you got Mark Wahlberg on the cover,
Mm-hmm.
so it says lone survivor. All right, he's gonna be the one that he's gonna be the one that walks out of here. But at the end, I remember when it came out in theaters, I refused to go watch it. Like I was like, I want to watch it. Like I'll wait for it to come out. But I remember people walking out of that theater because I went to go see other shit, and they came out and they're like, "Dude, I was in tears walking out of
It's a
that."
sad movie, man.
It is an
Yeah.
emotional movie. It is a phenomenal movie.
You know what they did really well with that movie, aside from our fallen veterans that were there,
Yeah,
was the guy that housed him.
yeah,
Because in that religious factor of if you're my guest, I'm gonna take care of you.
And they're
No-
still friends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
to this
matter
day.
what, dude.
It even
Like,
shows it in the movie. Like he's
Yeah, they're still
like,
friends to this day.
Yeah, it is so the impact of humanity is crazy when you see it in that light.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because when most Americans think of the Middle East and they think of war, that's our enemy.
Yeah.
They don't realize, dude, 9 times out of 10 when you're patrolling through somewhere, yeah, they don't want to associate with you because they're not trying to get fucked up by whatever insurgents in that area. But there's a lot of people that are like, hey, you're welcome to be here. Come down.
So there's another movie. My girlfriend brought it up today when I was actually getting ready for this. There's another movie with Jake Gyllenhaal coming out this year.
Really?
That it follows kind of that same idea where an interpreter for the Iraqi interpreter that's associated with us, and then they go back and get him.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you look at what's that movie? What I was just talking about earlier, Outpost.
Yeah.
Outpost, right? So if you watch The Outpost, you see some of that too. Not as enlightening, because when you have to bribe somebody, right? In that movie, they don't bribe, but they gift money to these guys, to the village elders.
Yeah.
But just that fact that they're in their home, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Because when you're tearing if somebody was in your backyard dropping fucking 120 mics all over the ground and fucking your shit up with a 50 and a fucking Mark 19 and you have 5-inch shooting shit,
yeah,
you'd be like, hey, asshole, take that shit the fuck out of here. 'Cause I got kids and shit, right? But the fact that these people can go into their homes, and yeah, they're giving gifts of money or whatever.
Yeah.
But the sole factor of you're in their house, that's huge, dude. And I like that it reveals that light. But I think in Lone Survivor it really showed, no matter where you are, dude, people are people.
Yeah. So I think we can all agree, Lone Survivor, phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Moving on though.
What do we got?
We are now into the top 4.
Woo!
I totally forgot about this movie as well, but Fury.
So,
Phenomenal.
I like Brad
movie.
Pitt. I like all the actors in that fucking movie.
Fury, I think it is phenomenal movie.
So this movie hits me in a different spot.
Yeah.
I served in the Army, right? So I've served. I'm kind of a weird breed. I served in both branches. I've been in the Navy, and now, I was in the Army. Now I'm in the Navy. But that movie, coming from another branch of service, you can only think what you want and what you kind of know from other people about other branches, right? You hearsay, all that crap, whatever. But that movie shows like camaraderie at its finest.
Yeah.
It shows.
I fucking, and it's almost exactly like Lone Survivor, because you got these, and one of the things that this movie does is it wasn't one of the first like tank movies, like they were in a tank, and
they all went and met. So where I went to school at Harmony Church in Fort Benning, they went there because Harmony Church houses the Count Scouts and the tankers.
Yeah.
They went to the tank school and the companies over there and met with the armored divisions and shit. And
that's cool.
All the actors went and met them, and yeah, super cool.
But I really like that it shows a different, like, because there's so many World War II movies.
It's always infantry.
Sure.
It's always
it's always
like
infantry, ground force, Band of Brothers, and some other movies that are in our list. But this shows it shows the tankers. And one scene that I absolutely love, especially because I'm a little bit of a religious guy myself, but one thing I love is that scene where they're sitting there and they're kind of just accepting their fate because they got that SS division that's coming in, and they're like, fuck, like we might not leave,
for sure.
and he says there's this Bible verse that I think about a lot.
And they never thought that he was religious like that.
Yeah.
So it's like when Shia LaBeouf hears it, he just laughs and he's like, yeah.
And it says, and then I heard the heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me."
Yeah.
And that's just like, I just got chills just reading that, by the way. And it's powerful, and it's such an impactful scene in the movie, and I fucking love it, and it's awesome. And the fact that they're all like, let's get the fuck out of here, and Brad Pitt's like, nah, this is our fucking tank. This is our fucking, this is where we have been this entire fucking war. I'm not leaving this, whatever you want to fucking call it, this hunk of metal, I'm not leaving this fucking thing behind. And all those guys are like, rallying behind their fucking leader, and they're like, all right, let's fucking get
I
to
can
going.
honestly say I feel like this is actually one of the best Brad Pitt films that there are.
Yeah, if you haven't
like-
seen this movie, like you need to fucking see it. It's
a
really
phenomenal
fucking good.
movie.
So that scene that you're talking about, where he's like, "I'm staying here,"
Mm-hmm.
and they decide to do that. So I get asked this question a lot on in the Navy.
Yeah.
What branch do I like more? Right? What do I prefer? If I knew what I know now, I would have stayed in the Army.
Yeah.
Not because of the Navy, not because of what they do. I love the Navy. I love the leniency of the Navy. I love everything about it. But that right there, because if you look at when you're on the ship, leadership is run a very different way in the Navy than it is in the Army. An E5 in the Army holds weight very heavily
Yeah.
compared to an E4, right? So in the Army, you have, like when you say, like if you're an E5 telling somebody to do something that's lower ranking than you, 9.9% of the time out of 10, that motherfucker's going to do it.
Like it's like in the Navy, it's like a chief was telling, like an E7.
Yeah, because, and the reasoning behind that is in the Army, we have little telltale signs about our uniform, right? So we wear ESWATs in the Navy.
Yeah.
Shows what you know, right? In the Army, they have these two badges. One's for the infantry and one's for the rest of the Army. And it's a combat infantry badge and the combat action badge, right? If you see that badge above somebody's U.S. Army tape, that automatically, in most regards, like you will respect that person, because that's what makes you follow those people. Is okay, they've been through it.
Yeah.
They know what the fuck.
So, fun fact about Fury, the Tiger tanks used were actual Tiger tanks from the UK's.
Yeah, I actually knew that when I saw it. I was like, when they fought the one in the field that fucked up the two tanks.
Yeah.
When it pulled out, I was like, oh shit, that's a real fucking tiger, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just
And
it's
when
so
they have
cool.
The part of the movie when they get behind it to shoot the rear of it.
Yeah.
That's where the weakest part of the armor was. Because so now if you look at our tanks now, the armoring around them, if you go up and got close to them, they have these things like where the tracks are at. They're little armor platings. They have all these like little blast proof things on the where the driver would sit on the front of the tank. So if like an RPG comes in, it'll detonate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember seeing that, and when he pulled out, I was like, dude, he's gonna have to shoot him in the weak part, because you learn that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if they don't shoot, if it shows them shooting him in the front, I know this is bullshit. And when those other two tanks go down and we gotta hit him in the rear, I was like, oh fuck yeah, this movie's on point. They know what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah, they definitely did their research, and
yeah.
that just makes the movie a
Even
more
better.
enjoyable
There's
experience.
two scenes in this movie that stand out to me. This is where I got that quote, right? When the new kid shows up and Shia LaBeouf tells him, that quote he says to that kid, wait till you see what a man can do to another man. That fucking quote was like burned into my soul.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
But there's another scene in that movie that really, like when I saw it, it almost brought me out, because it was sad, dude. When they're in that town and the young kid hangs out with the girl.
And they're all like, "Hey, you better get on that because we're about
right.
to."
So
Yeah.
they do all that stuff, and then when it's all said and done, and the village gets bombed, and he sees her laying in the rubble, and what's that guy's name? The guy from The Walking Dead. I don't remember his fucking name. But
You're talking John Berthenow.
yeah.
John Berthenow.
When
Yep.
he runs up to him.
He's from The Punisher, not The
Yeah,
Walking Dead.
yeah, and
He's initially from The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
but we'll
But
get into that
he's
later.
hitting John Berthenow, right? He's hitting him in the face, and he's like, yeah, hit me. And he grabs him and hugs him, and he's like, do you feel it? Do you feel it? That's what war's like. Do you feel it? That right there. Because at any fucking instant, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
It all gets taken away from you. And that stood out to me super.
With all these movies, it's amazing how accurate they can get certain parts of war.
That was something
That's why
really,
they made the list too.
Yeah, that was something that really stood out with me, because that's how it is.
Yeah.
Your best friend's right here, and then 2 seconds later, it's over.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So moving on, we got top 3.
okay.
I actually think this movie could be a lot higher on the list.
Moving away from the Army and the Navy.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we got?
I got Black Hawk Down.
I don't say if you say Top Gun, that's Army.
It is Army.
Oh, I
I didn't say
thought.
that.
Oh,
Army
my
Rangers.
major.
Army Rangers.
My
Delta-
apologies.
Delta
I thought it was
and Army
fucking. I
Rangers.
thought it was Marines. My
So,
bad. My
funny
bad.
enough, this movie inspired something for the Air Force.
Oh, the next movie's Marines. My
Yeah.
bad.
Okay, so the Air Force, I think it's I want to say the PJs. One of their
They had the PJs, but then they also
JTAC
had
and all that shit.
they also had what was it? Army's Helo Squadron.
Yeah, so
I can't remember what they're called, but the Army's Helo Squadron.
Right.
That's like their top of the top.
one of those, I think it's PJs. I want to say it's the PJs or JTAC or something. But they adopted a part of that movie into actual military training,
Oh wow.
and it's called the Mogadishu Mile.
Yeah.
So what they do is in the movie, the Rangers are dragging their buddies a mile on stretchers or whatever in this training regiment now. That is part of it. You have to be able to carry people.
That's
on
like
stretchers.
on our last episode we were talking about 90s action, and we talked about Heat. The tactical reload that Val Kilmer does in Heat, that's actually taught. That's the proper way to reload a rifle.
So Black Hawk Down, so I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, where a lot of retired Helo Squadron guys, I don't know why, but they fucking moved to Huntsville, Alabama.
Roll Tide, that's what.
Yeah, Roll Tide. But I've got a chance to actually listen to a lot of them talk, and I've actually got to meet some of them. And a lot of them, they don't talk about it, but then when they get the chance and they come out and they're talking to schools and doing their own little things, they'll talk about this Black Hawk Down situation. And actually, one of the guys that we used to interview a lot at the radio station I worked for, he was there. And this movie, they talk about how accurate this movie is and how it depicts what it was like to fucking be there. And to this day, I still have the collector's edition VHS, DVD, because this movie is just fucking phenomenal.
It's amazing.
And
it shows that almost that brotherhood, like this are our guys, and it shows them like like we got to get our guys the fuck out of there, And
I think what it shows too is never underestimate somebody's capability.
Oh, 100%.
Ever. It doesn't matter where you're at, dude. Like anybody with the right circumstances, anybody could fucking annihilate you.
Sure.
Yeah.
In that situation, the U.S. Army is in Mogadishu.
Yeah.
Where they're thinking all these guys wear flip-flops and run around and shit. They just knocked you out of the fucking air in your big-ass military equipment.
And it's crazy how, the villagers are turning against them, and the villagers start coming into everything.
That's that thing in war, dude, where when shit goes south, you pick
who you
If
think.
you're not on a side, motherfucker, you better pick one.
Yeah, honestly.
And if you're not going with the winning side, but it also shows the test of time too. The underlining thing of, can we overcome this?
Yeah.
And that's always a question in those hot moments of, fuck, dude. Like when they got that guy up on the table in that building and his arteries
just
shooting
squirting
everywhere.
out.
Yeah.
They're like, at that moment you have to think, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We are fucked. And then you realize that you can overcome a lot, but that's where a lot of veterans gain their respect of their enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you talk to a lot of guys that have been in Afghanistan and Iraq, they're like, don't talk shit about these guys you think that are wearing pajamas and flip-flops, because they'll scale that fucking mountain with a block dishka on their goddamn back and fucking .2 and lay hate on your ass real quick.
So the last thing I have to say about this movie is there's a reason why to this day when we go into conflicts they compare it to two things, Vietnam and Somalia, because that was one of the only times that we went in and we went, damn, let's get the fuck out of here.
That's underestimation.
Yeah, we need to get the fuck out of here because we are way over our heads.
In those times, what we fucking do? It's almost like back in the Korean War or back in when I'm trying to think. Let's use the Korean War for now. But like they assume that we can overflood them with numbers. We're gonna overpower them with thousands of people and just run over the top of them because we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in all reality, look what the fuck happens. Vietnam wasn't letting that shit go down. For sure. They were like, oh, hell no. You're crazy.
Yeah.
We might only have 300 dudes, but getting to us, punji spikes and all the pits, good luck, asshole.
Yeah. Great movie.
Moving on, we got the last two.
Woo!
I think a lot of people had this as number one. But
What is it?
Full Metal Jacket.
You know what this movie did good?
What?
And I think it needed to be. I think the generation now that's coming into the military needs to see this.
Yeah.
Is boot camp.
I feel
So-
like
See
you.
that.
Yeah.
They could have made this movie
Just the boot
about
camp.
boot camp. It
Yeah.
could have been
Just the
a
boot camp part.
hour and a half long movie
Yeah.
of boot camp.
And we brought this when we were doing 80s comedies. We talked about Stripes, and we were talking
Yeah.
about how it was like just the boot camp scene alone could have made this fucking movie. And really, the boot camp scene alone is what makes this fucking.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole
true.
movie is
Phenomenal.
amazing, but when you think about it, the thing that's most memorable about this
the
movie
boot
for
camp scene.
for everyone that's seen it is the boot
You know
camp.
what it is? Is that they depict the transition from civilian to Marine very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get there, like in the beginning, when he cracks, "Are you John?" or whatever the fuck he says, right?
hmm
And Gunnery Sergeant Hartman's like, "What the fuck, bitch?"
And he was an actual Marine drill.
Yeah. Robert Lee Ermey was an actual drill instructor.
hmm
I was about to say, and that was what I was about to get to.
Rest in peace, Bill.
Yeah,
rest in
R.I.P. He was
And Chris
phenomenal.
Kyle and all the boys. And,
He
you
was
know.
he was phenomenal,
Lone
and
survivor.
he to the day he died, he bled fucking Marine Corps.
Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, dude.
Through
he
and
did. Yeah,
through.
he did. But it's just so awesome the way that they show you, because you know a lot of what you hear now is like, oh yeah, if I go in and the drill instructor, or drill sergeant, or
Oh, I'm
whatever,
gonna
him.
punch him in the face.
Yeah.
We all said it. Did we
Right.
do it?
Right.
Fuck no.
Yeah, I'm not gonna listen to this guy, and it shows you how quick they will relinquish your right.
And all the
like, your
boot
right to make
camps,
decisions.
all the boot camps are different, but it's kind of the same in all the boot camps where you think you're all hard and shit, like
Yeah,
you know, and then you get to boot camp. No matter what branch of the Navy, no matter what branch of the military you join, if you think that, it's gonna get taken out of you real quick.
Yeah.
So there's still to this day when I stand watch, I still quote one thing. This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for fighting. This is for fun.
Way to name our rifles in Army boot camp.
Oh yeah.
You gotta
What-
know your serial number. All
What
that
was yours?
Jane.
Oh, Jane.
It couldn't be your spouse's name. It couldn't be your mom, your spouse, or your sister, or grandma. It had to be someone unrelated to you. And I was like, everyone called me Jenny. And I was gonna call my rifle that because I was like, it's easy to remember. And my drill sergeant told me no. He was like, no, you fucking loser. He was like, you're fucking picking a new name. And I was like, all right, I guess we'll go with Jane then. Fuck it.
All right,
All right. So the last
Number
and
one.
final, I think we
Oh.
all have the same pick here.
This
Yeah.
one, yes, this one is the one.
Saving Private Ryan.
Woo!
so the thing I love about this movie is just the opening scene is so fucking intense, and
It
just
is.
it grabs you for the rest of the entire movie. And when you think about how D-Day veterans have watched this movie and seen that scene and say that's the closest depiction
Yeah.
to what was actually going on, that just shows you how much research and how much dedication they put into filming this movie.
So,
And it's just amazing.
my grandpa that fought in World War II, from what I have been told, because I didn't know him, but there were a couple key bridges that in the end, when they blocked that bridge and detonated,
Yeah.
there were a couple of key bridges like that where they were moving armored equipment and whatever. My grandpa's platoon was one of the ones that was guarding.
Oh shit.
Not that one, but it was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one scene in this movie that really brings me around is the boys in the platoon are super tight.
Yeah.
Right? Like when Vin Diesel dies, that's super tragic and stuff like
It's
that.
super tragic for the movie, but I was super
I know you
happy
don't like
because
Vin
Vin Diesel is
Yeah.
my least favorite actor in the world.
I
So
had a big heart for that point, but the one scene that really hit home on this one for me was you're all so tight together, and we all have the piece of leadership that we're just kind of like, he's my chief, he's my divo or whatever, is when they finally know what Tom Hanks did in his civilian life.
and the fact that they're
Yeah.
fighting in that scene and he's just like, what do I do to like get this shit going,
Yeah.
get this shit back on track? And he's like,
I was a teacher.
what's the pull on? What's the pull? And everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like,
on me.
I was a school teacher, you know,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, oh shit, and everyone just kind of was like,
But that opening
You know.
gate to, I'm part of this with you.
Yeah.
yeah,
So one of the things that I have to point out with this movie is, I mean, there's actually a lot of factual things in this movie. Not only the opening scene, but to this day, there is a reason why after World War II, if you have a family member, you're not allowed to serve on the same ship, same company with that
Yeah.
person, because if you were to die, you would be the last of the
lineage. Yeah. So that was also, so when I enlisted in the Army, they had asked me that question.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only boy. I'm the only boy of 6 girls. And we have a son, and he's my only son. And he wants to be, I think he wants to be in the Marine Corps still, right? He wants to be a Marine Corps sniper. He's a freak. He told me he wanted to be a Marine Corps medic, and I was like, well, they're in the Navy, bud. And he was so mad. He was like, God damn it. I was like, yeah. But, yeah, that fact of, if you're the only, like, existence of that bloodline, you can volunteer, but you won't be drafted. And I think it showed that really well, where all the brothers were dying, and they're like, "Dude, this fucking one goddamn lady."
And I like how
5 letters, or 4 letters, or whatever.
I'm gonna go back to the opening scene in storming the beaches of Normandy. I like how they show the people drowning in the water, because that's how a lot of people died during D-Day, was drowning in their gear,
their equipment. You know what else was good about that scene is when you see how distraught Tom Hanks is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From when your inner ear balance is off, because I've felt that before.
I've felt that as well.
When
I've
your
had surgery
inner
on
ear
both my
balance is
ears.
off, and the way you can't hear and function and articulate what's happening, and you're just like, whoa, like you can't bring yourself back in.
Yeah.
It takes some
And
time.
we're talking like just directly from the beginning. This movie just grabs your attention, and especially like when they're finally all said and done and they've stormed the beaches, and I can't remember the character's name, but the Jewish one in their
Fish.
little squadron, Fish.
Yeah.
And he starts crying.
Yeah.
When they finally like they're looking through it, and he starts crying, and it's like Jesus Christ.
Or when when Fish gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone hated that scene where, what was his name, Putnam or something like that, or whatever, was waiting at the bottom of the stairwell and he heard him screaming.
Yeah.
And everyone hated that, but nobody put themselves in that spot.
And we go back to in World War II, it was like, we need fucking people. We need people. We need people. So,
And they
like,
snatch
you
in
know.
a typist.
Yeah.
You notice that in both Saving Private Ryan and Fury, it was a typist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some headquarters typist that got drug into it. And you become, because at the end when he shoots that guy that kills Fish, he's like, whatever, he says his name, and he just fucking pulls the trigger and the rest of the guys run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's like,
You know-
up him. Like, we know each
Oh,
other.
that's his name. Yeah.
Fucking shoots him,
Boom,
yeah.
Fuck you, dude. You know, but it's that realization of, like, it's like augmented reality almost. You have this realization of, everyone's like, why the fuck didn't he go upstairs and help him?
Yeah.
All he had was a knife. Oh yeah. And what happens when he gets up? What happens if he goes up the stairs and gets fucked up? It sucks. Yeah, dude, it sucks. But you cannot critically think in that sort of environment. It is so fucking hard. And that's why our elite of elite, like SEALs and Army, Special Forces, whatever, are so well trained, and they're the ones that are picked because they can do that shit.
And another thing about this movie, every single death scene in this movie is fucking powerful, dude.
Dude, it's
Very.
true.
Like, you know, and we think about when their medic, can't remember his name either, but when their medic dies and he's like calling for his mama, you know, and he's like, mommy, before he dies. That it's just it
putters it
fucking
out,
it just grabs you, you know, and
You know
it's
what
just
that movie
crazy.
did that was actually pretty funny? Is when they show up to that village and they meet up with that other famous guy. I don't remember his name. But they meet up with the one platoon and the guy's on the loud mic.
Yeah.
It's like a one MC through the whole village, and he's like, "Oh, that's our morale officer."
Yeah. I love that part too. And then we've talked about the humanity and all that stuff, and when Vin Diesel's character is trying to grab the little girl, and then when he gets shot, and Fish's first instinct is to run to him, and they're like, "Whoa, there's a fucking sniper," you know. And let's not forget the sniper in this movie. I can't remember his name either.
He was that kid.
But
was
you know,
and shit.
and he's quoting the Bible as he's and it's crazy like how far like weaponry has come because he's left-handed, so he's got to reach across his rifle to fucking reload it.
What, a lefty or something.
Yeah,
like
so he's got to
to
reach across his rifle to load it and stuff, and it's cool that they put those details in the movie.
It shows you those little inner workings of like it's not all what you think it is.
Yeah.
And things do get tough. You know?
So I think
Yeah,
100% easily our number one.
Easy number
So
one.
what we did was I think we got the average of the audience score and
Yep.
the critic score for all these movies that we talked about on Rotten Tomatoes. So their number 10 was Act of Valor. Our number 10 was Act of Valor.
Yep.
I think
Really?
that's pretty.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think we're good. We're good. Their number 9 was Tears of the Sun.
They're
Our
wrong. So.
Yep.
yeah,
With
The
51.
rest of the world is wrong.
51.5% on
Really?
average. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
it's
the rest of the
nuts.
world's
That's
wrong,
nuts.
so.
Their number 3 was Hacksaw Ridge.
Fact.
Well, we had Hacksaw Ridge.
At
What
number
6?
seven.
Seven.
No, 7.
And we had Tears of the Sun at I want
Number
to say
9.
6.
Hold on. Yeah,
So
we
Yeah,
the
had,
rest of the world.
We had it
we
at
had
6.
Tears of the Sun at 6.
So what were we at? So no, their number 7 was American Sniper.
We had American Sniper at number 9.
So we're not too far off.
I think we all kind of felt a little bad about it. But,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
'Cause rest
they're
in peace, Chris Kyle.
Yep.
We love
R.I.P.
you.
Yeah.
You know, we love your family. Nothing against you, my man.
Oh, I skipped number 8. I'm sorry.
did
Their
skip
number
number
8 was We Were Soldiers, and we had
We
that
have
number
at
8
number
as
8.
well. So we're 2 for what?
Yep.
We're 2 for 4 right now. Their number 6 was Fury.
Which
We
is
had
completely wrong.
Yeah,
Fury at number 4.
we're right. They're
They're-
wrong,
they're pissed
right?
off. That's right.
their
Rotten
number
Tomatoes, get your shit together.
their number 5 was Lone Survivor, and we had Lone
We had Lone
Survivor
Survivor
number
at
5 too. So we're 3 for 6.
Okay.
Their number 4 was Black Hawk Down. Ours
We
was
had
3.
No, yeah, we did have 3.
Yeah, so it's not too far off. Their number 3 was Hacksaw Ridge. which we had
it at number
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their number 2 was Full Metal Jacket, which we had number 2.
Yeah.
And their number 1 was Saving Private Ryan,
So how
in which
many
we had number
out
1.
of
So I
all
think
of
we
them?
were like 50%
Yeah, we were
on
saying
our
about
guesses.
50%.
So they just need to get their 50% right.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, we're good,
We
yeah.
had the right 50 Cent. They had the wrong.
It's just like when we did 80s comedy, like they'll be hearing from us.
Yeah.
We had a lot of 80, especially with 80s comedy. We had a lot that we were like, what the fuck? Were we all
Yeah.
I think when it comes to this sensitive topic of war movies, I don't even think that they should put numbers out there.
It's true.
Mhm.
I mean,
I
there's
think it should just be a list of these are great movies.
Yeah.
so many war movies that we could have added
Yeah.
into this list. I mean,
Not one's better than the other.
even up until we hit record, we were Jarhead was brought up.
Yeah,
There's
Platoon,
So many movies
you know.
Thin
that,
Red Line, all that shit.
that were brought up that we could have. Hell, you even have MASH, the original
Yeah.
MASH movie that you could have put in here.
And we can't let go of the series that were all there, the Pacific.
yeah.
Band of Brothers. Band of
Never
Brothers
forget
is
Band of
so
Brothers.
fucking
That should be its own
amazing.
goddamn movie.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so many. I mean, 1917. You
I
have
call Mr. Child Mr. Winters, and he laughs every time.
like there's so many movies that you could put in this category. I mean, even if you look at IMDb, they have Schindler's List. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many great movies.
And I think that stuff too caveats into it was during the time of war.
Yeah,
It was affected by.
Yeah,
the
we
time
were
of
kind of
war.
making like
Yeah.
kind of
This
like
is
this
direct
is the
fight.
action
Yeah, this is the direct
wars.
fight,
Yeah.
um,
But 100%, all of these movies deserve to be where they were. I know we had an honorable mention like Apocalypse Now, you know we were
Apocalypse Now.
talking about, and we just named a
Oh, yeah,
few
the
others.
Outpost, the
yeah,
Hornets.
Yeah.
Outpost, Hornets Nest, Restrepo.
Restrepo was one. that I
Yeah,
was
there's a lot of
thinking
good war documentaries
Like,
out there too.
Restrepo,
Yeah.
Restrepo, I think hits home for a lot of us because it's during our time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know.
and I mean that's the thing. Even if you look at this list, I would say it's about 50-50 about modern war versus
The last
World War II,
70
Vietnam,
years.
like.
Yeah.
even 1917 was
Yeah.
with World War One.
Like, I mean, all these movies, if you haven't seen them, go and fucking watch them.
Ooh,
Even
have you ever
as
seen-
The Patriot,
Have you ever
you
seen-
got the French Indian War, and you got Glory during the
Yeah.
Civil War, talking about the first African American platoon in the
What was
Civil
that movie
War.
with the sailor who joined when he was like fucking 14 or whatever, and he got arrested.
Oh yeah, because he was too young
he was
to
too
join
young,
and
dude. They
shit.
thought he was
Yeah.
lying.
And we got
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Like, there's so many movies that could have been on the list so easily that just it was heartbreaking to
true.
make a top 10. And I think one of these days we just gotta just start rattling off movies on
Just
a certain
make an
genre
hour of just listing.
because
it.
it's
Yeah.
fucking I
Oh.
can't.
But no, yeah, I think phenomenal episode. We look forward to having you back on again,
Yeah, dude,
brother.
I'm excited. I think this was fun, man. I had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol and movies. Who's complaining?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think even
I think
your
we
wife,
mentioned
even
that.
your wife can't complain. She's gotten to just sit here
Hey,
and drink.
She's been through all this with me, and I appreciate everything that she's done for me. I really, I wouldn't have done all this without her.
Yeah.
And she knows just about as much as I do.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe next time we'll have her talking
Maybe next
instead
time
of you.
you'll sit in her seat. She sits in yours.
That'd be good, dude. Get a side perspective of what the spouse.
We'll do crime movies.
Yeah,
I
crime
think you
movies.
mentioned
Yeah,
crime
you did
movies.
say you
Yeah.
like crime movies.
We'll do crime movies.
Thanks again to
Seven's my
Orwell,
number one.
sitting over there,
Yeah.
working the
The man
cameras.
behind the scenes.
Again, thanks for checking in with Cinema Probe, and check us out again next time.
We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.